we as a society are going to see more technological advancement over the next 5 years than we did the previous 20 years. And if you're in the mortgage space or the real estate space, or you support lenders and realtors, are you focused on 2010 or do you have your eye on 2030? In today's episode, we are going to be discussing the future of mortgage lending. Check it out. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus, you are tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and my main man,
JC
John Coleman.
Dio, what's popping?
Well, I can't miss you wearing that neon yellow.
Yeah, I shouldn't have worn this today.
I like that.
Thanks.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's warm and it's dry, and here we are.
But
it's
I'm
cold and wet
underneath.
outside.
But I know, but you know, my pits are starting to sweat.
Is that because I make you nervous?
No, it's because it's hot in here, and I didn't put on deodorant. I only put on deodorant maybe once or twice a week.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's bad for you. It's like carcinogenic. It's like a carcinogen.
I have actually heard that once or twice. What's your deodorant of choice?
I use the gel now, the Gillette gel.
So I do not like the gel.
I don't either, but
like how slimy
it
is.
but it works the best.
So this is the craziest thing. If you came into my household, you came to my bathroom that I share with my wife. Okay, we are going to have Right Guard, gel, and we're going to have Secret. The only difference is the Secret is on my sink, and the Right gel, the Right Guard gel is on her sink.
Wow.
Yes, I once ran out of a deodorant,
And you used hers, you never
and
went
I
back.
had to grab like my sister's deodorant, and it was Secret. This was probably back in high school, and I loved how it smelled. I loved how it went on. So now for 25 years, I'm a Secret guy.
Yeah, that's the secret to the secret.
Yes, it's wearing women's deodorant.
I do. I've been known to dabble. Yeah, I like it.
Let's get into today's episode, which today's episode is sponsored by TLOP's Originator Coaching Community.
Okay, here's where I check out. Go ahead.
All right. So if you're a mortgage loan originator and you've always wanted to be coached, you've always wanted to have access to the best sales trainings, and you want to be a part of a community that actually looks out for each other, they mastermind, share best practices, and hop on calls and participate in learning activities, we are going to invite you to become a member of TLOP's Originator Coaching Community. It is the best value in the industry, bar none, meaning nobody does it better in terms of bringing value to originators through business coaching and sales training at a very affordable investment.
Word. I have a question to get started. Do you think, is there a changing of the guard going on to where all these old, rusty, crusty loan originators who like have been in the industry for mad long but have like made ridiculous amounts of money, are they getting phased out? And like all these new young originators are coming up, but like the old guard doesn't want to give up like what they built. So
there's 100% a changing of the guard happening. And it's happening at the CEO level. It's happening within the trade organizations. It's happening within the various coaching organizations. But the changing of the guard is 100% happening. It's, why did I make a career move in 2024? I saw the changing of the guard happening, right? Why am I so excited to go all in on originator coaching? Because I see a changing of the guard needs to happen. And when I travel the country and I'm involved in all the mortgage bankers associations, national, state, local, I see within them the associations that are doing the best. It's because they've already started the handoff of the changing of the guard. And a lot of today's episode is really, if you want to be relevant in 2030, these are the ideas you need to be embracing. If you don't care to be relevant in 2030, tune us out. You know what? Skip this episode, go on to the next, or we have an entire library of 500 plus episodes. Go check out one of those. But this episode is all about that changing of the guard. If you want to be a part of the change, this is where you need to be going. If you don't care to be a part of the change, then I hope you're looking to retire in the next 2 to 3 years. True story. Like that is how I feel. And that is what I'm seeing. And by the way, changing of the guard is not a bad thing. You and I will be less relevant in a decade than we are today.
Oh, yeah.
Like truth, right? That is truth. So the men and women that I learned from 20 years ago, they are less relevant today than they were 20 years ago. true. That's the truth.
Not if you ask them.
It's correct. They're holding on. But at some point, it's like, hey, look, let me grab that baton and run with it. I mean, you look at musical acts, right? Like, don't get me wrong. I'll still go listen to what's left of the Eagles. But the Eagles are way less relevant than they were 20 years ago or even 40 years ago. So it's like you still get those people who hang on, but it is time for a change in the guard.
When do you think this started? Like, would you say back when COVID happened? Would you say, was it during the financial crisis? When would you say, could you like point back and like, June of 2018 was actually when this shift started happening. We're just seeing like the results of it, come to a head now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've never had that question posed to me, but let's just say the new decade brought in the beginning of the changing of the guard.
Okay.
The new decade. Let's just say January of 2020. Because you got to think, had COVID not happened, 2020 was going to be a rough effing year in mortgage and real estate. Like, I dare you to go back and look at your data from December of 2019, January of 2020, February of 2020. It was rough. Leads were down. Pricing pressures were still pretty extreme. Sales were not going to be robust. And then COVID happened. And then we had this crazy economic stimulus because we had never experienced a pandemic like that. The world freaked out. Governments freaked out. They wanted to do what they could to keep things at status quo and keep the machine running. And we basically shoved 5 years worth of transactions into 24 to 30 months. And now we're paying the price for it. But had that not happened, we wouldn't have had the economic stimulus. We wouldn't have seen rates drop below 4%. And we would have seen much slower, at which point the changing of the guard happens, I think, typically when there is some kind of a painful moment, right? That's the whole no pain, no gain. I think we're seeing that because 23, 24, 25, and even most of 22 was a lot painful. So you have those men and women that are like, all right, I don't have it in me to survive another one of these downturns. And you have others that are like, this is a great industry. Let me jump in and let me build it while things are suppressed, maybe even depressed a little bit. I mean, I built my $1 billion region starting in 2008. That was not deemed a good year. 9, 10, 11, not deemed good years. So the company that I helped build from 400 million to 2.4 billion, we really had our coming of age happen during that 9, 10, 11, 12 moment. So yes, those companies that did really well in that time frame, opportunistic, Movement Mortgage, Fairway Mortgage, Cross Country Mortgage, like those companies all came about during that time frame. Now we look at 22, 23, 24. There's companies that you and I don't talk about. Nobody was talking about lower 5 years ago. They weren't. We're kind of the talk of the town right now. Tune into Housing Wire. It's hard to read Housing Wire on a monthly basis and not see lower in the news. And usually for something very good. We're not talking about Planet Home Lending. I promise you we're going to be talking about Planet Home Lending and going forward. And then there's so many other companies that we're not talking about that we will be talking about here in the future. Empire Financial, who are they? Hey, stay tuned, right? Stay tuned, because we may be very well talking about them in the 2030s where we're not talking about them in 2024, right? So yes, I think this is a changing of the guard. I know where I sit, the men and women that I've respected, I want to pay homage to, but I do want to ask them, hey, pass the baton.
Fucking step aside.
Yeah, like we got you now. It's our turn. Go enjoy retirement. We got you. All right. So anyhow, so let's do this. Ready? Drum roll, please.
Go ahead.
I hate when people do that, by the way. It's a nervous tick. We get people in on the studio and they're talking and you keep on hearing that.
Do that.
Yeah, that's very annoying.
I don't
Anyhow,
touch the
mine was more of a drum roll, please.
Okay.
Drum roll, please. Here's the deal. You are going to dominate in the future of mortgage lending. There are 3 things that we need to be very cognizant of. Okay. The first is technology. The second is social selling. And the third is content creation. Collectively, we would call all of that showing up online. Like, how do you show up online? If I go looking for you, John, what do I see?
A black hole.
A black hole. Because you do not show up online.
I don't.
Right? And your end goal is to live your life incognito.
Off the grid.
Low key.
Yes.
Yep. And that works really well for you.
I'm not a salesperson. Do as I say, not as I do.
Well, correct, because you're also not money motivated.
No.
You're not trying to achieve a certain type of status or financial independence or success. Right? You're happy with what you got. You're happy with where you are.
So content.
And you're happy with what you do.
So happy.
Yeah. So it works really well for you. But would you say that you are unique or you're like most people?
I am very unique, sir.
You're very unique.
Yes.
Yeah. You're the outlier.
Correct.
Yeah. So we're not maybe speaking to the John Colemans of the world.
No, we're not.
Right? We're speaking to everyone else who raised their hand and they want to be part of the rat race because they don't like where they are. They want to improve. And they recognize that nothing changes if nothing changes.
Correct.
So the first thing we have to ask people is, well, where do you show up online? Because if I'm going to be a lender of the 2030s, if I'm going to own real estate or be a real estate broker in 2030s, how do I show up online? Whether it's the content I create, the websites that I have, or how I social sell. So when it comes to technology, here's what I would tell anyone who's willing to listen. We have to be early adopters and fast followers, but rarely do we ever want to be the company or the person who is actually inventing and rolling out the technology. Let someone else beta test it. And do you know why that is? Like why would you want to be an early adopter or a fast follower?
Because, well, if you follow the person that's leading the charge, you can avoid the mistakes and pitfalls.
Correct. At the end of the day, let someone else, this is the one time you want to let someone else take the risk, let someone else prove the concept. And then once they have taken the risk and the concept is proven, then you become a fast follower, then you become an early adopter. Because at the end of the day, we talk about the tech companies that make it, but we don't talk about the 99 out of 100 that didn't make it. You don't, and you can't afford, especially because most of us are not computer programmers. Most of us do not have that MIT pedigree, and we don't have that Silicon Valley network of friends who are all software engineers, entrepreneurs, and inventors. Therefore, there is usually someone else that has your idea, they're further along into it, and they have more money behind it. So I have learned, for most of us who we speak to, being the innovator is a fool's game. Being the innovator is a great way to lose millions of dollars plus thousands of hours. So we want to be an early adopter and a fast follower when it comes to technology. But nowhere in there did I say that we don't embrace technology. Nope, we call those people dinosaurs or has-beens or hacks. You don't want to be either a dinosaur, a has-been, or a hack. And then one other thing I learned about technology, the people decide. At the end of the day, I don't care how great your technology is, the people decide. You and I kicked off today's call talking about the college football championship game last night. Now, this will air a couple days later, but it was last night for you and I recording today. Did you watch that game in 3D?
Hell no.
Why not?
Because I don't have a 3D television that's enabled.
Because you don't have a 3D television?
I mean, they sold it to me a couple years ago, but that's just cheeks.
Correct. That was an it thing. If we go back 10, 15 years ago, everything was about, 3D TV. The people didn't want it. The people did not want it. Therefore, it never took off. And I remember being a kid. Do you remember the huge Blu-ray disc?
It was called. It was HD. It wasn't called Blu-ray because Blu-ray one was HD DVD.
It was the size of a vinyl record. Yeah, guess what? That never took off. Right. If I go back when I was a kid, you had beta and you had VHS. Very quickly, the people realized they wanted VHS. They didn't want beta. So ultimately, when it comes to technology, the people decide. I love this story about Slack. Right? Most of us know Slack's a great way to kind of have a online web cloud-based, almost like a
chat thing. It's a messenger for me.
It's a way to be in and out of projects with teammates and keep things organized. Even Slack wasn't built for the end user in mind. Slack was internally built by a gaming company or a software company. Well, the gaming company and the software company never took off. But there was someone who wanted to purchase the company because they wanted Slack. Because they realized the people would love Slack. But the innovators They didn't make Slack for anybody but themselves. Gmail started off for that, right? Gmail was just an internal way for people at Google to communicate. So I think the big thing about technology is understand that people decide. You may be using a technology for its intended use, but ultimately the end user is going to tell you how they want to use it and how it makes the most sense for them.
Can you give like a specific example of like a piece of tech or, technology that loan officers should embrace currently, but maybe aren't currently embracing? Like give me like a name or a software, like something. Or like a process.
Okay, most loan originators need to dominate the basics, and they don't either know the basics, they haven't been taught the basics, or they don't have anyone holding them accountable. Most loan officers, if they had money to spend, need to spend it on a business coach. They need to literally spend it on coaching and sales training. That's because with coaching and sales training, you will generate more leads, you'll close more loans, which means you'll generate more revenue, then you can reinvest back into your business. But a loan originator who's not using something like Mortgage Coach up front is not differentiating themselves as a true advisor. If they're not using some kind of a technology on the back end, whether it's through MBS Highway or through HomeBot, they're not doing the best job of creating and living the client for life. If you're not paying for the upgraded version of AI and using it, you're missing out. Period. End of story. It's an assistant. You got to hire the assistant. You have to train the assistant. You have to work with the assistant, right? So you don't just go out and find an assistant who's free, who knows their job and does everything for you. No, when I'm teaching our coaching students how to team build, it's all about setting proper expectations and inspecting what you expect. Well, you can only set proper expectations if you know what you want. You can only inspect what you expect if you've trained the person to do a certain role for you. But if you are not spending your $20 a month for Chat GPT-3 or Claude AI on steroids or whatever it is that you want to use, I think you're totally missing out, from crafting emails to creating reels to doing social content to writing your blog or your newsletter. Yeah, I think that's a technology that, again, my best assistant wasn't my best assistant until I had he or she onboarded for 2 years. Like I would hire an assistant and say, look, I'm not even promoting you, or you're not even eligible for promotion until month 13, because it's going to take me 6 months to train you how to do your job. I then want to get at least 6 months out of you, but preferably a year and a half out of you. Then we can talk about you hiring and training your replacement as I elevate you maybe from LOA to loan partner. So that would be the technology that I think that people aren't just, leveraging. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this on websites too, but I kind of want to get things rolling. And by the way, I give a pretty badass keynote on this topic. So I got to do it for our friends at Eustace Mortgage. I recently just did it for our friends at Total Mortgage. I'm going to do it for the MBA of Arkansas. I'm going to do it from, MBA of Kentucky and MBA, the Iowa Mortgage Association, right? An entire speech on this topic. If you're ever interested, go to our website. We have a link called Media Inquiries. So tloponline.com, Media Inquiries, if you want to talk about how I can partner with your organization, whether it's a private event or whether it's a trade organization open event, I'm available and I love to do this. So don't even know how I got on that tangent, but it's something I'm obviously very passionate about. And it was some question that you had asked me.
I always blame you, John. Don't blame me for your when you go off on your rails. You have no idea how to bring it back.
Well, I do have an idea how to bring it back. I'm going to keep the conversation going.
Okay.
Right, because you were asking about the technologies is where it all started. All right, so let me talk about the next iteration. I'm talking about how do you show up online, right? I talked about technology, content creation, and social selling. Social selling, I know what it was I was talking about, John.
Okay.
I was talking about doing speaking engagements, and I was letting people know if you wanted to reach out to us about how I could do an event for your company or how I could do an event for your trade organization. Yes, go to our website, tloponline.com. On the top right-hand side, there's a link for media inquiries. You can fill out your inquiry there, and then either me or a member of the team will reach out to you to discuss.
Sure.
That's where I was going with it.
I guess.
Then I just got down the rabbit hole because I'm passionate about this.
Yeah, because you like helping people for some.
Because I do like helping people.
For some ungodly reason, you enjoy helping others.
Yes.
I take the what? Airplane approach. And what does that mean? Secure my face mask before helping anyone else. Because if I pass out, I can't open the emergency exit, because that's where I prefer to sit.
Because you have long legs.
Correct.
Because you're way taller in real life.
Well, plus I really don't like sitting next to people, and usually people that on the exit rows are also people who don't like other people, so it tends to be a quiet flight.
All right. Let me talk about this with social selling, which I call online networking. Online networking is no different than traditional networking, except it's easier, it's free, you don't have to get dressed up, you don't have to shave, you don't have to shower, you don't have to wear deodorant, you don't have to drive anywhere, and you can touch and engage with more people in less time. So I teach this both in the coaching, I teach this on webinars, I teach this during keynote presentations. And in fact, if you want to be a part of our next free webinar, go to the website, tloponline.com, and subscribe or sign up for our newsletter, and we will make sure you get invited. I'm teaching this in February.
Okay.
So in February, we are going to be having me teaching one of our master class or one of our master classes. We call them signature master classes. I'm going to be teaching this in February, but it's essentially how do you uncrack the code of social selling? And there is a code, and I'll teach it to you, but I just need you to recognize that if you're not showing up online, that means you're not networking, which means you're not building out your net worth, because your net worth is the sum of your network. You got to do it. You got to show up online, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. You got to post daily. You got to send direct messages to people. You got to engage in their content. You engage by comments. You engage with likes, hearts, and emojis. You got to have a profile picture and contact information. And the way that I teach it is this simple. Would you ever show up to a traditional networking function, Chamber of Commerce, BNI, Women's Council of Realtors, or that conference or trade show, where you weren't showered, dressed, and ready to go? Of course you wouldn't. You wouldn't. Therefore, you need to have profile picture and contact information that speaks to who you are as a professional, as well as a human, because people do business with
people.
Yep. So then, would you ever show up to a traditional networking function where you didn't make eye contact, where you didn't smile? No, you wouldn't. If you did, you're wasting your time.
I think that's the big thing you're leaving out. A lot of older loan originators are weirdos, and they haven't had the social sell because they just sat behind a desk and got leads fed to them. A lot of loan originators are like odd people, Dustin. And if you're odd in real life, you're going to be odd online.
Well, yeah, but if you're a originator like that, then you tune into our content because you're trying to become different. You're trying to change. And maybe this is the information you need or the motivation you need. Anyone else should be that man or woman who understands that it's my personal brand. I work for me, LLC. And I need to go out there and generate leads, because he or she that controls the leads, what?
Controls the purse strings.
Controls the purse strings. Like, you want to make the most money, you need to generate the most leads. So when you are out traditionally networking, you would never go to an event, or at least you shouldn't, without making eye contact, without smiling, without shaking someone's hand. Okay, that is going on social media for 30 minutes a day. That is liking, hearting, emojiing other people's content. That is very much sending a friend request. Sending a friend request is me reaching out to shake your hand and introduce myself. Then eventually I have to engage in small talk. Small talk is me commenting. But small talk doesn't pay the bills. Eventually I need to get one-on-one with you. One-on-one is me sliding into your DMs. But me sliding into your DMs still does not achieve what it is that I want to do. John and I having a conversation at a Chamber of Commerce meeting that maybe started as a group conversation, chit chat, small talk, eventually we get paired off one-on-one where we dive a little bit deeper into our backgrounds, our interests, where we work, what we do. And if that goes well, then John and I take the conversation out of the big room and into one-on-one, typically two days to 2 weeks later, over coffee or beers after work. Maybe I go to his office, he comes to my office, or dare we meet for lunch? Okay, the same exact thing that you would do traditional, you now just do online. So make sure, if you are serious about being the future of your industry, the future of mortgage lending, not only are you embracing technology, you're a fast follower or early adopter, but you are showing up online through online networking. And get over yourself. Online networking is just like traditional networking. It just happens to be way easier. And it's not new. Y'all, we're in 2025. This has been around for over a decade and a half. If you're not doing this, you're showing me with your actions that you don't care to be a part of the future. Which again, if you're looking to retire in the next 3 years, dude, high five to you. More power to you. But if you're trying to be relevant into the 2030s, this has to be something you're doing. Then the last thing that I really want to talk to people about is content creation. Like, we have to create content. Period. End of story. Back in the day, you created content by potentially putting your picture on a bus bench seat. You put your picture in Homes and Land magazine. Possibly you were in the yellow pages, but you were still promoting yourself. You were still advertising. Today, we do it by making content, whether it's content for YouTube, content for Instagram, content through a newsletter that we send out. Like, we create content. And what you have to understand is that video is where it's at, and you have to be an edutainer. So you have to entertain while also educate. And I'm going to tell you all this because you need to hear it. That is how you look. That is how you sound. And we love you for it. You're not making content for you. Get over yourself. You're making content for your people, your audience. And when I give these keynotes, I'm given an opportunity to go even deeper into some of the do's and don'ts of making content. A couple quick ones I share with you right now is you need to learn how to speak to fourth graders and in a language that fourth graders understand, and quit making content for your competitors, meaning quit using industry jargon in the content that you create, because only you, me, and the people that compete against us speak that language. The clients and customers we serve do not. So our content needs to keep in mind that those people don't speak our jargon. Showing up online and creating content is also your website. How are we in 2025 in the mortgage industry as a whole sucks? I said that really loudly on purpose. Sucks. With LO-specific websites, branch-specific websites, company websites. We are not using geocoding, geofencing. We're not putting the right content that then drives people to the website. We then don't have the stickiness that keeps them coming back to the website or allows us to retarget ads coming back to them. If I have it my way, the companies that either employ me or the companies that contract me or the companies I consult for in the future, we are going to be doing deep dives into how do we give our loan originators a very good, basic, replicatable website, give our branches a very good, replicatable website, put the right geofencing and geocoding around it, make it sticky, and then allow those originators and those branch managers to spend a little bit of their money. Because by the way, LOs, you do have to invest in your business. Like, you currently get the lion's share of the net profit on every loan. The lion's share of the net profit goes to you. You need to spend a little bit of money, but what if you could spend $200 or $300 a month retargeting through ads that maybe your company has the marketing division, has the ability, and through using technology who's making it way easier, we can capture the data for who's coming in and retarget ads back to them. I don't need to get strangers coming to my website. I need to get the people who do come to my website because they're referred by a builder, a CPA, or a financial advisor. I do need to know who they are. I need to retarget ads back to them. I should be able to go onto Facebook and I should be able to put $400 or $500 a month into Facebook running ads only to the men and women who already know me. Like, I should be able to do that. And the company I work for should be able to provide me the resources. I have to provide the money, but they provide the resources to allow me to do it. So when I talk about showing up online, it's LO-specific websites, it's branch-specific websites, it's corporate websites. Mm-hmm. Like, if our corporate website does not rival Zillow, Redfin, Bankrate, NerdWallet, we should ask ourselves why. because I think the future of mortgage lending, that is going to matter more than it ever has. 2030 versus 2010. And then the branch and LO specific websites, are they sticky? Do they have the right content? Are we leveraging video? Do we have testimonials? Like, these are all things that we need to have going forward. All of that said, and find a way to put a big fat bow around this. This is for people who want to dominate in 2030. Because at the end of the day, if you just want to generate 20, 30 leads a month, if you just want to close your 3 to 4 loans a month, truth be told, you don't really need any of that. You don't. You can do everything still with a spiral notepad, a financial calculator, a red pen, a blue pen, and a yellow highlighter that matches John Coleman's hoodie today.
Oh, yeah.
And you can generate 20 to 30 leads a month to where you can fund your 3 to 4 loans a month. That is still very possible. Everything that I just said is for those men and women who want to be recognized as above average, who want to be great because they want to do 30 or 40 million. They want to run a branch that does 200 or 300 million. They want to own a mortgage company that's doing 2 to 3 billion. And if that's where you're trying to go and you want to be the future of mortgage, the things that I just talked about, these are where we should be putting our focus.
Well said, Dustin. Wow, you were inspiring me just like you would inspire the future of mortgage.
I'm pretty sure you tuned me out about 25 minutes ago.
Bro, I've been tuning you out for 400 episodes.
It took you 100 to...
I had to pretend to care because that was a new job for me, so I wanted to put my best foot forward, as do most people.
Very cool. Well, this episode's running probably a lot longer than I thought it would, but I appreciate y'all tuning in.
Because you rambled for 30 minutes in between about some shit about how you want to, like, inspire change and how... Instead of like helping 100 families, you can touch like 400,000 by like this platform or some shit. I don't know what you be talking about, man.
Yeah, look, sometimes, John, I come on this podcast with you.
This is more therapy for you.
It's therapy, and it's also my way of practicing some of my...
snake oil salesman techniques?
Possibly not that. I'm thinking like, how would this sound from the stage? How would this sound if I was pitching someone a certain product? And I just try out my material... ad lib, off the cuff, with you as my audience, and they get to tune in and listen. I'll refine it and I'll get better. And I would suggest that all of us take every opportunity we can to practice some of our pitching so that we can refine it and get better at it.
Well said, Dustin.
And if you want to get better, let me tell you where to get better. If you want to help us get better, do me a favor, connect with me on LinkedIn. First name Dustin, last name Owen. It's a great way to get a hold of me. It's a great way to give us suggestions for future content.
All that. It's
a way to ask us some questions. Follow us on Instagram at The Loan Officer Podcast. Make sure you are subscribed to us on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is legit and it's only getting better. If you listen to podcasts, we're on Spotify and Apple. Go on Spotify and Apple, download, give us a 5-star review. More importantly, share. If this content is moving you, it should be moving other people. Those other people are people that you know and care about, their friends and their coworkers and their colleagues. Please make sure that you're not keeping the Loan Officer Podcast in TLOP a secret. On that note, he's John Coleman. I'm Dustin Owen. That's all the time we have for you today, but we do look forward to catching you on the next episode. Peace.